SubPar Viewers. You join us from Winton Motor Raceway. It's a nice cold morning. We are here for two reasons. Number one, I'm picking up all the spec bits for my RX-8. And number two, going to help out a little bit with media for the series, and we're going to follow the weekend of a pretty big name who's racing it at this weekend, and see what it's like to do a weekend in RX-8 Cup from the perspective of a legend of Australian motorsport, which is a bit funny. But yeah, pretty excited to get really involved with the series. And
it was, I mean, the car's good, it behaved good, it was just not fast enough. I mean, I think I'm P8, which, you know, is no disgrace, but it's not really where I'd like to be. Yep. So, you know, my expectation of myself is probably greater than it should be. Actually, it's so ferocious, the racing, but it's quite fair, so, you know, nobody does any really bad stuff. So I enjoyed it. I mean, I didn't enjoy starting from 8th position, and I finished in 8th, but that sounds very simple, but it wasn't that simple. You know, we swapped places a few times, had some good battles with some good young guys, so, you know, as I've said a number of times, I've knocked the mirror off, the category is great for young guys that want to learn about motor racing and don't have a billionaire father, you know, and if 8's where I'm at, that's where I'm at. of the RX-8 Cup meeting at Winton. We've had 4 races, 2 practices on Friday, 4 races over the weekend and a qualifying, and I've been hovering around the 7th to 8th to 9th, so not exactly where I want to be, but I tell you what, the racing is absolutely fraught. You know, like so close, everybody's so close, they brake so late, they enter the corners so fast for what they are, and it's a terrific category for youngsters, I think. Particularly, I've had a race with a couple of young blokes this weekend, particularly today, and they were great. Great to race with, no paint swapped, just, you know, good stuff. So if you want to get into racing and you don't have a billionaire father or mother or grandparents, this is a really good category.
Awesome. So a bit of a different subpar video, but it's been a really good weekend. Made me more than anything unbelievably excited to get into the RX-8 Cup and start taking racing a little bit more seriously. It's a very friendly environment, but you know, a bit more competitive than motor events. Motor events is amazing fun for sort of different reasons. Also ended up with a pretty significant haul of RX-8 parts. So the van is basically a build your own RX-8 Cup car kit. I'll go into all of that in a bit more detail later on sometime in another video, but you know, it was fun to follow a legend of Australian motorsport for a weekend, and I think he still wants to be the quickest, and he does a lot of racing, and something just wasn't quite right this weekend for him, but I like that he's taking it seriously enough to be disappointed that he's not front running. You know, he's won rounds of this series before, so, but yeah, great bloke to hang out with and great bloke to learn off, and now I just can't wait to be in my own car here.